Canada just got absolutely embarrassed at the World Juniors in my home city of Halifax. So I'm technically still on break, but I'm going to do a bit of a recap here and some analysis. I am somewhat limited in the footage that I can use, and this is my first time doing IIHF coverage, so I'm going to be a little bit conservative with how much content I use. All right, so tonight's game saw Canada, which some have labeled perhaps the best World Junior team ever assembled, beaten handily by Czechia 5-2. Canada got outworked, they got outplayed, they got outsystemed, and it was overall an extremely embarrassing performance. I'll go into more detail in a moment, but let's first do the scoring. Canada opened it with a beautiful Shane Wright deflection. We then see the very skillful Canadians attempt 2 Michigans, both of which failed, and Czechia would tie it up at the end of the first on a beautiful passing play. But what's Fantilli doing here? The man has time, he has space, he can hold inside position, and as they said on the broadcast, he gets caught watching. Extremely frustrating. Fantilli was one of several Canadian players which I just thought had overall terrible games. Czechia would actually take the lead less than 30 seconds later with a shot through traffic, ending the first. Czechia would then take a 3-1 lead 50 seconds into the second. And again, what is Canada doing on defense here? We've got 2 players down low covering the same man. There's no communication. No one slides off. Subsequently, a Czechia player is wide open, grabs the pass, and scores a really nice goal. Connor Bedard with an incredible shot would then make it 3-2, but that would mark the beginning of Canada's penalty issues. Now, they would get 6 penalties in total, including a 5-minute match penalty, and I want to talk about that. So this one was on Dean. It was labeled a hit to the head, and I'm sorry, I know the rules are different for international competition. This is a terrible call. The head is not the principal point of contact. It's not the secondary point of contact. He hits him in the chest going upward. Maybe you can call him for how he uses his hands or his stick, but this is just a hit. The player gets cut by his own visor on the way down. That's worth kicking a player out of the game and a 5-minute penalty. I could not disagree with that more. The commentators were saying, well, that's how it's called consistently as well, and that may be so, but that does not reflect the IIHF rulebook. You're basically penalizing the Canadian player for being stronger. Anyway, Czechia would score 2 goals within this 5-minute power play. The first one had Doc sort of lazily skating back, totally loses his man. Again, no sort of situational or defensive awareness. Then we had Benjamin Gaudreau, Canada's goalie, for the first 5 goals, let up a really weak one. Gaudreau had a terrible game. 5 goals on 9 shots. It's just not good enough. Some of those, not his fault. Some of them, like this one, definitely were. One of the positives is that Canada's backup, Thomas Milic, not really a backup, they're sort of testing both of them out, played well. He had 18 saves on 18 shots. He'll probably start the next game, and if he does well, I can see him holding the net for the rest of the tournament. Either way, though Canada's goaltending was bad and Czechia's goaltending was very, very good, that wasn't the main issue. Canada just got completely outworked, especially by Czechia's forwards. All I hear about is how big this Canadian team is, especially on defense, but they can't get pucks. And the fact that Canada had an entire third period to try to get back in the game when down 5-2 and didn't score a single goal, to me, is far more concerning than the actual loss itself. We've seen this time and time again in not only the World Juniors, but also the playoffs. Look at Edmonton's struggles in the past. Look at many teams. Skill takes you only so far. Czechia won because their players outworked Canada significantly and because they played better within their system. There wasn't one Czechia goal like Bedard's where a player made a spectacular individual play. They executed properly. They won board battles. The last 10 minutes of the game was especially frustrating to watch because Canada would have a single player try to rush into the zone, trying to make a hero play instead of, establishing a cycle, and it would lead to nothing. It's always like, let's score with the most incredible cross ice behind the back pass instead of let's get shots on net, let's try to get tips, let's fight for rebounds. Bedard, I thought, had a good game. He obviously had that one goal, but he was also trying to set Canada up, and he gave about 3 players empty net opportunities and they just couldn't execute. Incredibly frustrating game to watch. Overall, very disappointing. Hopefully Canada wakes up. If they play Sweden like this, they're going to get their asses blown out. But that's my thoughts. Let me know yours down below.